A mafia boss was trying to use some corrupt officers to kill a simple martial art teacher. But he didn't know this would become the biggest mistake of his life. At the start of the story, many Mexican police officers go near a van to arrest a man named Brian. But after watching everything on the CCTV, Brian suddenly comes out and beats them all very badly. Seeing this, the officer becomes terrified. Still, Brian lets only two of them live alive. For some days, Brian had been living alone near the Mexican border in a camping van. With no connection to anyone, every morning he woke up, did heavy exercise, and practiced the martial art he created himself. He worked as a construction worker, and at night he went to sleep remembering his dead wife. One day, while practicing, he noticed a boy named Oscar, who, as usual, was standing far away copying each of Brian's moves. But when Brian looked at him, Oscar quickly ran away and went to school. After school, Oscar was returning home when a local gang member named Falco started following him in his car. Oscar became scared because they used to bother him sometimes. So he ran, hid behind a vehicle. Falco and his men couldn't find him and left. At that time, Brian was eating in a nearby restaurant and saw Oscar hiding like that. That night, Falco and his group went into Oscar's home and started threatening him with a gun. They knew Oscar had purposely run away from them. From Falco's words, it was clear that Oscar's brother Hector, who was actually the leader of the gang, had gone to the United States for some work. In his absence, Falco and his men kept scaring Oscar. Out of fear, Oscar gave Falco all the money he had. Falco warned him that if he told Hector anything, he wouldn't spare him. The next day, Oscar again went near Brian's van to watch his training. This time Brian suddenly walked up to Oscar and told him to practice together. Oscar became very happy. Brian began teaching him martial arts along with physical workouts. Within 4 months, Oscar changed a lot and became much stronger. One day Oscar saw a picture of Brian's wife inside his van. Oscar wanted to ask about her, but instead asked why Brian was teaching him martial arts. Brian said he saw Oscar hiding from the gang the other day and believed Oscar could easily defend himself if he learned properly. Oscar revealed that the gang leader Hector was his own brother, yet they still bothered him. Oscar was practicing with Brian when Falco and his group arrived with Hector, who had just returned from the United States. Seeing Hector, Oscar became happy and hugged him. Hector noticed Brian and felt something strange because Brian looked like a police officer. So he warned Oscar to stay away from him and took Oscar to a fighting club so he could learn fighting there instead. At the club, Oscar met Marisol, the daughter of the club owner. When Oscar asked for admission, Marisol refused because he was too young. Still, they talked and became friends. Since Hector had returned after a long time, he arranged a grand party that night with the whole gang and many girls. Oscar was there too but felt bad seeing Falco and tried to leave. Hector didn't allow him to, fearing Oscar would go back to Brian. Later at the club's underground fighting ring, a strong fighter was defeating everyone. No one dared fight him. Seeing this, Oscar stepped into the ring. Using the techniques Brian taught him, Oscar fought that man. Everyone thought Oscar would die, but the opposite happened. Oscar won within a few moves. Everyone was shocked and Hector was proud of Oscar. Oscar gave the prize money to Hector and left. Falco understood that bothering Oscar anymore meant inviting his own death. The next morning, a lawyer named Pyro was playing golf when someone sent him a video of Oscar fighting using Brian's techniques. He went straight to jail to show the video to a big mafia boss, Sonny. Sonny was in jail because of Brian, so he ordered Pyro to find Brian using Oscar. Meanwhile, Hector took his men to ask Brian to train Oscar and make him a great MMA fighter. But Hector had purposely stopped Oscar from meeting Brian for a week and now wanted training only for his own benefit, so Brian refused. Hector tried to bribe him with money. When Brian still refused, Hector pulled a gun but Brian instantly drew his own gun and aimed it at Hector. His speed shocked everyone. Brian told them to leave and sent Oscar away too. Oscar and Hector then met Marisol. There were two men named Ivan and Vlad arrived looking for Oscar. They claimed to be boxing promoters but showed Brian's photo and asked about him. Hector understood they were hitmen trying to harm Brian. To protect Oscar, Hector lied that he didn't know anyone named Brian. They left, but Oscar and Hector became worried about Brian's safety. They decided to tell Brian everything. At first, Brian told Oscar to leave, but Marisol insisted he listen. After hearing about Ivan and Vlad, Brian quickly told them to get inside the van because he knew the hitmen had followed them. Ivan aimed at Brian from the side while Vlad approached with a rifle. Brian told Hector and his men to get into the van, but Ivan killed two of Hector's companions before they could enter. Still, Brian and Hector escaped inside. Brian couldn't understand how they found him since he had been hiding in Mexico for so long. Marisol showed him Oscar's viral video. Then Brian understood everything. He told everyone to go behind the bulletproof glass. He took his crossbow and killed Ivan. Vlad became angry and tried to ram Brian's van with gasoline. But Brian aimed at him. Vlad threw a gasoline can, then attacked. But Brian overpowered him and poured gasoline on him. He asked Vlad to reveal who sent him, but Vlad refused and set himself on fire. Brian understood more hitmen would come. He showed Hector, Oscar and Marisol a secret tunnel under his van so they could escape safely. As they worked, Brian revealed he used to work for the FBI. The city's police chief, General Sonny, was corrupt, selling weapons, drugs, and even people as slaves. After discovering this, Brian exposed his gang and sent Sonny to jail. This is why Sonny wanted revenge. Brian then revealed his wife is still alive. Sonny's men had kidnapped her to kill Brian. Although Brian saved her, he had to send her away for safety and fake a fight, then hide in Mexico. Brian sent the others out through the tunnel and returned to the van. Corrupt officers surrounded it on Sonny's orders. Brian was ready. He killed many officers with his rifle. Only 2 officers survived. He warned them to leave and they fled in fear. Later Hector came with his men. But Brian had disappeared and cleaned everything as if nothing happened. Hector told Oscar and Marisol, and they were sad but understood it was for Brian's safety. Oscar decided to keep practicing the moves Brian taught him. Days later, many members of Hector's team began disappearing. While searching for them, Hector was captured by a corrupt officer named Alex, who worked for Sonny. Alex planned to torture Hector unless he revealed Brian's location. Hector refused. Alex ordered someone to cut Hector's ear. But before anything could happen, a gunshot was heard. Killing the man, Brian had arrived and demanded they release Hector. When Alex refused, Brian shot him in the head. A deadly fight followed. Brian killed several more but ran out of ammo, so he climbed to higher ground. Alex's men attacked with knives, but Brian killed them all. He rescued Hector, who thanked him. They planned to go to Marisol and Oscar. Meanwhile, Oscar and Marisol had returned to Brian's van when an FBI team arrived. Oscar, thinking they came to kill Brian, attacked them. He defeated a few officers, but one fought just like Brian. That officer removed his mask. His name was Eric, Brian's friend. He came to help. Eric took responsibility for getting Oscar and Marisol to safety. But on the way, Oscar realized Eric was pretending. He also wanted to kill Brian. Oscar secretly called Hector. Eric sensed it and threw Oscar's phone away. Meanwhile, Pyro reached Don Waltz, Hector's boss. Pyro threatened Don with exposing his illegal business unless he helped trap Hector. Eric arrived with Oscar and Marisol. Don first refused to harm Case, but Pyro blackmailed him. Don would get $20 million in return. Eric gave Oscar a phone so he could call Hector and lure him there. Then he locked Oscar and Marisol in the basement. Brian and Hector learned their location and planned an attack. Hector's team started shooting, killing many of Don's men. Brian and Hector entered from behind and unleashed chaos. In the basement, Oscar killed a guard, but before freeing Marisol, Eric arrived and fought him. Brian and Hector killed the outside guards and entered. Eric pointed a rifle at Oscar, but before he fired, Marisol shot Eric in the leg. Brian arrived and rescued them. As they were escaping, Don tried to stop them at gunpoint, but Hector shot him from behind. They won. FBI arrived with Brian's wife, who was also an FBI agent. She was overjoyed to see Brian. Brian wanted to live safely with his wife. So, wearing FBI uniforms, Brian and Hector's men went to confront Sonny. They were fully ready to end him. But would they actually kill him or just scare him? The directors left that to the audience's imagination. And this is how the story ends. Friends, do not forget to share how you liked the story, like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Until then, tata, goodbye.